Thanks, Munir, for the kind introduction, and much appreciated. It's truly an honor to be here today in front of such a distinguished audience. Before I start my presentation, I just want to share a few words. As Munir said, I'm a senior manager at Ernst & Young Canada. I'm leading cybersecurity practice for the financial services in Canada. And for the last decade, I've been focusing in this space, helping clients in US and Canada primarily. However, I was born in Bangladesh. I grew up here. I went to Mirzapur Cadet College, and after that, moved abroad to pursue my career. One of the main reasons I'm here today is actually I'm truly concerned about the cyber threats our nation is facing today. So it's a great event organized today, so thanks to the organizers, much appreciated. Hopefully throughout the day, throughout the event, it will create some more awareness for our country. So my discussion, I'll be talking about 4 different topics. The first one is today's attacks on the digital world. So let's start with a quick infographic. Interesting fact, it was created by Excelacom last year, so this year actually. How fast is our digital data growing right now? So if you think about in a minute in 2016, there is 700,000 Facebook logins in a minute. 150 million emails get sent in a minute. 20.8 million WhatsApp messages in a minute. That's a tremendous amount of data getting generated every minute. And think about how much gets generated in a day. And this will not slow down, and it will keep growing actually. The same thing applies to your organization. Just think about it, how you operated 20 years ago, and how you're more connected right now, locally, globally, and how you're more dependent on technology. And all the digital data you're creating is not going to slow down. And this is a good thing, I would say, is digitization. It's an enabler. It opens up new products, new growth opportunities, new markets, new customers for all businesses. However, on the flip side, in the rush to go into digitization, we forgot about one major drawback, which is obviously the cyber threats. So to look at some interesting stats. So what does this digital presents? It presents new risks. So what are these risks it presents to our businesses? In the last 2 years, 4 out of 5 companies got breached globally. I would say actually go ahead and I can make this statement with confidence, it's probably 5 out of 5. The 20% that claims they did not get breached is probably didn't have the tools or mechanisms to detect those attacks. By 2020, there's going to be 30 billion devices globally connected. So you can just see how fast we're moving. So that's we have 7 billion people. You have 23 billion more devices digitally connected. There's been a lot of rapid changes happening for cyber as well. There's 5 US legislative changes just that happened last year to handle cyber threats. And a widening talent deficit to make the problem much worse. Within the next 5 years, there's going to be a shortage of 1.5 million cybersecurity professionals globally, and the rising costs. So it's costing about $400 billion annually on average due to the cyber threats. I want to just go over these 4 newses. Each one is a very interesting theme. I will start from the top left. The first one is Qatar National Bank got hacked in February 2016. A Turkish group attacked them, and they already claimed that they're going to leak the customer data from another bank. The top right, it's attack on 6 Russian banks, and it was a pretty interesting one. So this is a phishing attack. So for those of you who are not ever familiar with the phishing attacks, it's basically fake emails get sent to you with the attachment that's a malware or a link. If you click on the link or the attachment, it deploys a malware, and that can actually start a cyber attack in a simple form. So 6 banks' employees were targeted. It was very targeted and well-crafted emails they received, and it made it look like they received those emails from Russian central bank. So definitely they clicked on and followed the instructions, and the hackers were able to actually penetrate and cause a significant damage to the financial system. The bottom right one, this one is the interesting one too. So again, Russian hackers, what they did is they got into a bank system and they changed the US dollar to ruble conversion rate by 15% in a few minutes. And they knew exactly when it's gonna change. So when the US dollar and ruble conversion rate changed, they put thousands of transactions within that time period, and before the bank was able to change the rate back, they got away with $3.2 million. And the last one, I don't need to go into this. We all know about, it's referring to basically the attack that happened in Bangladesh Bank, right? The point here is every minute of every day, a bank is under cyber attack, if you think about globally. So by the time I'm finishing this speech, it's probably another 25 banks or 20 banks will be breached as well. Just to look through some interesting data points. If we just go back the last 5-6 years, right? So start from 2011, $10.5 million was taken away from Citibank through wire transfer fraud. Global payment systems, Visa, MasterCard, they lost $94 million. 26 countries in 2013 lost $45 million from ATM heist. And fast forward to from 2014 and now, 100 global banks from 30 countries lost about $1 billion on cyber heist. And it just keeps compounding, right? So the theme here is, you can see from $10 million to $1 billion. So we're not talking about in just a few $1 million right anymore. The next topic I'm gonna talk about, so we all saw, okay, there's a lot of news on the about cyber attacks. So who are these attackers actually, right? So I categorize them into 5 different categories. The first one is unsophisticated attackers. So an interesting fact is 70% of the cyber attacks actually doesn't need any deep technical skills. You can just download software from the internet. Anyone interested, some level of technical background, they can just download software and start doing this. So these guys are actually attacking you because you're on the internet and you have vulnerability, and they're just experimenting. So I'm not really too concerned. If you're a bank and hopefully you have some more protection, I won't be much concerned about this guys. The next one is sophisticated attackers. So they're attacking you because you're on the internet and you have something valuable and they know about it. And the cause for this could be money, of course. Something Amar was mentioning about is the ransomware is a good cause, or embarrassment, or political social statement. An example of these kind of groups are Anonymous. So for those of you who don't know Anonymous, so they're a hacker group. So they will attack you if they don't agree with what you represent. So recently they attacked Donald Trump's campaign because they didn't agree with what Donald Trump was representing. So so this type of attackers, the point here is, if you have something valuable and they want to make a statement, they'll attack. The third one is corporate espionage. So this usually happens from competitors, and it's a very common case. Usually employees, current or former employees, if they're trying to seek revenge or try to steal intellectual property or sell your intellectual property, they are leveraged usually. A perfect example is last year, a GE employee in the US got charged by FBI, and they caught him because he was stealing about 3,000 design drawings from GE and sending it off to China, and he was a Chinese origin. So, and the loss for that was about, GE claimed about, they lost about north of 100 million US dollar from that corporate espionage. And the fourth one is organized crimes. And again, they're after your cash, credit cards, personal identity information. And if you think about this, organized criminals, why are they in the space now, right? So when was the last time you heard about a bank getting robbed with criminal gangs blazing through the front door and using their guns? It just doesn't happen anymore. Banks and organizations that are smart enough, and they have the right precautions and countermeasures to stop those kind of attacks. So the organized criminal gangs, have built an ecosystem where they're getting sophisticated cyber criminals, cyber attackers, and they're building a supply chain where one person is involved in stealing critical information about their target. One person is involved to establishing a proper cyber attack mechanism. One person is involved in funneling that money after they steal. So they're getting very well funded and traditionally tied to the organized criminal gangs. And the last one is the state-sponsored attacks. So that's the advanced persistent threats. I would say actually organized criminals and state-sponsored both use the APT attacks. And one example of this one is state-sponsored attacks are the one happened to Sony last year, and that attack, U.S. government actually published it, that attack was traced back to North Korea, right? So a lot of the governments across the globe, actually they're preparing themselves with cyber ammunition, because any government, any country has their military defense, military air force and so on, and now they need cyber defense to protect their national security. And this is just some interesting info about the top 5 cyber criminal gangs. If you just Google it, you'll find out about them. One is the RBN, the Russian Business Network. They provide the marketplace to sell stolen payment card data, and they have ties to Russian organized crime. Rockfish Gang, they specialize in phishing attacks. NSA is a German gang, very powerful. Been in the cyber criminal space for a while. Great Pigeon Authors, one of the most successful Trojan distributors. Stonewall Gang, and there are a couple other gangs, but like these are just to show some name. If you can just go home today and Google about them, like you'll see like what they have done so far. Now let's think about, so how do they attack, right? Before I go into how do they attack, I want to get you familiar with, for those of you, I know like there is a mixed crowd, so for those of you who are not familiar, there are a few terms I want you to be familiar with. The first one is dark web. You'll hear about dark web, darknet, deep web. So this is part of the internet that's not accessible by your regular internet browsers, and they require special software or configurations to access. And it is heavily used by cyber criminals. There are dark web forums where they will go even try to find out if they have one piece of information, they can collaborate with other attackers to kind of piece together multiple intelligence about organizations before they attack. Cyber black market, it leverages dark web as well. It's a network of highly organized groups, often connected with traditional crime groups, and it's claimed in many places that some cases cyber black market is more profitable than illegal drug business. And the last one, Bitcoin. Just the reason I'm just putting Bitcoin out there is a digital currency. It's legal, but a lot of the cyber crimes actually leverage Bitcoin, because any Bitcoin transaction can be traced to a virtual or computer address, but it's very difficult to connect it to a physical address or an individual who did the transactions. A lot of money laundering actually leverages for cyber criminals that leverages Bitcoin as well. Common approach is to use a digital currency converter to transfer Bitcoin, which they can get from ransomware payment, to a online game currency, like gold coins for World of Warcraft. And so that makes it legitimate currency for them. An attack life cycle, let me just go through this quickly. That pretty much all the attacks, they follow the same kind of concept, right? So first they will gather intelligence from dark web forums, underground websites, social media, before they go after a target. Then there is a target acquisition. So they will, they'll finally know, okay, so this is the guy I'm gonna attack. And they will usually start the attack through, it can be multiple ways. I'm just giving two examples. Sending phishing emails, the one that was done for Russian banks. They will send, if a phishing, like we did an experiment on one of the organizations, we sent phishing emails to 100 employees, and about 20% actually clicked on them. And some of them actually repeatedly started giving them their social insurance number, their passwords, and everything by clicking on those phishing email links. And once one person clicks on it, then attackers have a way to get it. Delivering USB or pen drive. So think of it like in this conference, if there was a well-planned cyber criminal gangs and the left bucket or box full of USB drives, a lot of people will take it on their way back. And if you leave that in front of your office, a lot of people will just take it and go connect it to their laptops. And we did that kind of experiment too. And it was very easy for them to just take a USB drive on their way to the office and connect it to their network. And once they connect the USB drive to the network, hackers have a way to get in. And once they get a target, they get in, they will establish a foothold onto the target system. And then they go through this chain of command and control, privilege escalation, and data exfiltration. So what that means is command and control is once they get into the system, they'll open a backdoor to have their other attacking buddies to come in and have the right tools installed to make sure they go undetected by the traditional antivirus softwares or traditional detective mechanism the organization has. Then they will escalate their privileges. So escalating privileges, what that means is escalate privileges of the system level accounts. So to give a simple example, they will initially go in with one key of a house to get in, and they will make it a master key that can open any door around the house as they walk around. And the last is data exfiltration. So once they go in, they know it doesn't happen in a day, like a well-planned attack doesn't happen in a day or two. It takes months, sometimes years. They will know exactly what information they want to collect, and they'll gather, steal the data, data of interest, and finally, it's a silent request. And they will be removing the tracks and evidence or retain the covert access to see if more information is available for attack. So that's a usual pattern you can see for any well-planned attacks. So what are the signs of attacks on your company? So how do you know that you're getting attacked? So the first one is visual attacks. So if you have the right tools and mechanisms in place, you can detect that, yeah, there is a cyber attack going on. Mergers and acquisitions, I'll skip that because that doesn't really happen much in Bangladesh yet. But if you have mergers and acquisitions, and we see that in Western world and other places, that if all of a sudden the mergers and acquisitions get disrupted, that's a sign. Your operational activities are disrupted without a cause. So if your ATM machines stop working, if your mobile SMS banking stop working, that's a sign that you're getting attacked. Unexpected share price movement, so that's a corporate espionage attack. So there's been attacks where organizations are attacking their competitors to drop their share prices. Unusual customer joint venture behavior. So all of the organized criminals can start creating fake accounts, fake companies, and start having joint ventures. So watch out for those too. Auditors in your payment processing system, that's a sign too. That when the new products launched by competitors similar to your R&D and IP, that's a sign of corporate espionage. And they can actually know if you're a competitor for sophisticated attackers, they can actually launch a product very similar to yours right before when you're supposed to go to the market if they have access to your intellectual property and critical data. Unusual employee behavior. all of a sudden, if you have the right tools, and if you start seeing that an employee started downloading thousands of design drawings, so critical financial data, and copying it in his USB drive, sending it on emails, that's a telltale sign that he's trying to sell your IP. Customer and user databases showing inconsistent information, so watch out for those too, that those could be signs that you're getting attacked as well. Two real-life attacks. I want to give the credit to Kaspersky Lab, actually. These are detected by them. So one is they're saying a TeslaCrypt ransomware. Again, it started with a phishing email, and so I just want to show you like how a ransomware attack looks like. So if you they will get attacked through a phishing email. Someone clicks on that email and opens that email with a link, and that will install a malware on their system, and it just gets total control of your critical system. And once a screen like this will pop up, this is just an example, and it will just say, like, say, your private key will be destroyed on a certain date. So private keys, think of this, all your information is locked in a box, and it's locked. The lock they just put a lock on this, and the only key that can open it is a private key. And if you don't get a copy of the private key, you cannot open that box, or you basically don't have access to it. So they just give a link to say, if you want to get your private key, click on the link and pay us in Bitcoin or some other ways. They will get paid. So it's and as Amar was saying too, yeah, it's a ransomware is a big issue globally now. A lot of hospitals in Canada got recently attacked too. And in some cases, API actually says, if your hospital information is under a ransomware attack, probably the best thing to do is, if it's a small amount, just pay them. And make sure it doesn't happen again. It's because you cannot afford to lose your critical data. The other one is the Metal Gang's ATM rollback attacks. So this one is a very clever attack. So what this rollback attack does is, the Metal Gang, they got into a bank system, core system, and they got a hold of certain accounts. So like say, if you have $1,000, you take out that $1,000, on the back end, they just roll back the full amount. So they just refill that account with another $1,000. So it just never gets, the total amount just doesn't vanish. So they made that attack on bank A, and they went to bank B, C, D, and E, and used their debit card to still started taking money from that specific accounts. And overnight, they took out millions of dollars. Actually, it's about 3 million or something they stole in one night from that bank. So the last section I want to just showcase on is so building your active defense, right? So how do you do that? So FBI Director Robert Mueller, he just said it on the RSA conference in I believe December and November last year, is that I'm convinced that there are only two types of companies: those that have been hacked and those that will be. And he went ahead and saying that, and there is a convergence. Those that got attacked, it's guaranteed they will be attacked again. So being attacked is unavoidable. So you cannot, I can guarantee you there's not a single company that can claim that they will never get attacked or never been attacked. It's just they don't have the right mechanisms or processes to detect those attacks. So let's go through, like, can you answer yes to any of these 5 questions if you just think of your organization, right? So that how prepared are you for cybersecurity? So do you know what you have that others may want? What your valued assets are? So it will be different for every industry, every organization. So what's your, does the intellectual property is critical for you? How about your customer information? That's a valued asset too. Your financial information, your business information. So government sectors, they will be big on, they will have emphasis on intellectual property. For banks, financial data, customer data, business information, business strategy, those will be valued information, right? Do you know how your business plans could make these assets more vulnerable? If you're launching a new business, like say you all of a sudden want to start mobile payments or mobile banking, before opening that business, think about how you are opening up new channels for attackers to attack you, or did you take the right measures to put the right safeguards? Do you understand how these assets could be accessed or disrupted? Would you know if you were being attacked, or if this have been compromised? If you're getting attacked, or if you're getting attacked, is there ways for you to know this? Do you have a plan to react and attack and minimize the harm caused? Say you find out that you're getting attacked, do you have the right processes and tools to stop that attack? So just answering these 5 simple questions will give you a sanity check that do you need a cybersecurity program, or do you need to do anything about cybersecurity? And often people think cybersecurity is a question or issue for the CIO or Chief Information Security Officer, but it's not. It's every role in the executives and the management team has a role to play in this. CEO has to embed cybersecurity in the management strategy and goals. So if a new product is being launched, new business plan is being developed, he needs to be cognizant about cybersecurity. Chief Information Security Officer, he's going to be responsible for building out the cybersecurity program. Your Chief Marketing Officer, he or she has a role to play as well. If you get breached, and then you want to make sure your marketing officer is prepared for rapid media and public relation response. Having the wrong response for the wrong for a cyber attack can have a very negative impact on your customer base as well. Your general counsel, they need to be cognizant about all the laws and regulations that are impacting you. And the next one is again around the same theme, like every senior role has a responsibility for cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, it needs to be applied with the lens on each one of those different domains of your business, in each business unit. Information technology, cybersecurity has a role to play there as well. Internal audit, risk management has to be incorporating cybersecurity. Legal and regulatory, government risk and controls, your finance, your customer segments, supply chain, your board of directors and executive leadership they have to protect their shareholders' values as well. So every area of your business needs to have a role to play. And the next one is more of I'm not going to go into too much details, but this is, so if you want to build a cybersecurity program, I would say divide it into 3 core segments, right? So the security governance, enterprise security, security operations. So for security governance, you have to build the security strategy for your strategic response or the strategic plan. You have to build security standards and policies for each one of the domain of cybersecurity. You have to look at ISO standards, NIST standards, PCI standards. Develop those security policies and standards. Have security awareness training. So those are all governance. And then you come down, so that will dictate how you're going to implement security, the foundational security at the enterprise level. For identity access management, application security, business continuity, third-party security, each one of these domains will be core areas of enterprise security. For identity access management, you have to make sure that you have the right processes when an employee comes on board, and if he leaves or gets fired, is all the accesses are taken out from the enterprise, right? So third-party security, if you're doing business with a third party, like banks do business with SMS banking, so you have probably telco companies or other banks, other organizations have access to your banking system. So you have to be aware of your third-party security. And the last one is the security operations, so that's where your threat intelligence, security monitoring, incident management, and all those comes in. So I want to close out with just 2 statements. So, how many companies from the Fortune 500 list from 50 years ago do you think are still in the Fortune 500 list? Anyone? Any guess? 50%? You're correct. It's actually only 10% are still in business. It's 9 out of 10 companies from Fortune 500 from 50 years ago are not in the Fortune 500 list anymore. So that's something to think about. But why did this happen? Because they were resistant to change. So cybersecurity and this digital is here to stay. So you have to be taking some actions to make some changes. I want to close out with a statement from Mary Jo White, who's the chair of U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. She just made a statement 2 weeks ago. She said, cybersecurity is the biggest risk facing the financial system. So just note that she did not say about bad mortgages or bad credit rating. It's the cybersecurity she is pointing out is the biggest risk that can create another market collapse that happened in 2008. So I want to just leave you with that thought. Thank you.